Have you ever watched a dam begin to crack? At first it's just a hairline fracture, barely visible, almost easy to ignore, but then, as the pressure builds, the water finds its way through, drop by drop until suddenly, the whole structure gives way in a thunderous, unstoppable rush. That's what it feels like in Washington right now. And, if you've been paying attention, you know exactly who's standing at the center of the storm. Senator John Fetterman. But why does it matter? Why does one senator's frustration send shockwaves through the halls of power? To answer that, we have to look beyond the headlines and into the heart of what's really at stake. Let's be honest, most of us are tired of the endless bickering, the performative outrage, the sense that the people in charge are more interested in scoring points than solving problems. We see it every day in the rising cost of groceries, the uncertainty about our jobs, the nagging worry that the system just isn't working for us anymore. And when politicians stage stunts, like the recent spectacle on The View, where the focus seemed more on optics than outcomes, it's hard not to feel a sense of betrayal. It's as if the people who are supposed to represent us are playing a game, while the rest of us are left to pick up the pieces. Fetterman's fury isn't just about a single vote or a single moment. It's about the accumulation of frustration, the sense that the people's business has taken a backseat to political theater. It's about the growing realization that for all the talk of unity and progress, the cracks in our democracy are widening. Here's a question I keep coming back to. Why do we put up with it? Why do we keep watching, keep voting, keep hoping, even as the system seems to let us down again and again? Part of the answer lies in our biology. As humans, we're wired for hope. We want to believe that things can get better, that the people we choose to lead us will rise to the occasion we crave. Stories of redemption, of underdogs who defy the odds, of moments when the truth finally breaks through. But there's another side to it too. We're also creatures of habit, of inertia. We get used to the way things are, even when they're not working. We tell ourselves that maybe next time will be different, that maybe this time someone will finally stand up and say what needs to be said. That's why moments like Fetterman's matter. They jolt us out of our complacency. They remind us that change is possible, but only if we're willing to face the uncomfortable truths about where we are and how we got here. Think about the last time you saw someone speak up in a meeting, a classroom, or even at the dinner table. It's not easy, is it? There's always a risk. The risk of being misunderstood, of being ostracized, of losing something you care about. In politics, that risk is magnified 1,000-fold. The pressure to conform, to play along, to keep the peace is immense. And yet history is full of moments when someone refused to stay silent, when a single voice sparked a movement, or at least forced a reckoning. Fetterman's outburst is part of that tradition. It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply tell the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs you. But it also raises a deeper question. What happens when the people who are supposed to lead us are more interested in protecting their own power than in serving the common good? What happens when the culture of silence becomes the norm, and the cost of speaking out is just too high? Let's talk about The View for a moment. On the surface, it was just another segment, another chance for politicians to make their case, to connect with voters, to show a human side. But for many, it felt like something else entirely, a distraction, a performance, a way to avoid the hard work of governing. It's a pattern we've seen before. When the going gets tough, the tough go on TV. They tweet, they posture, they look for the next viral moment, the next soundbite, the next way to shift the narrative. But here's the thing. Real leadership isn't about optics, it's about outcomes. It's about making the hard choices, having the tough conversations, and putting the needs of the people above the demands of the party. When Fetterman called out his own side, he wasn't just venting, he was shining a light on a deeper problem. The tendency to prioritize image over impact, to chase headlines instead of solutions. And that's a problem that goes far beyond one party, one show, or one senator. It's a reflection of a culture that values style over substance, and spectacle over service. So what does a Democrat meltdown really mean? Is it just a catchy headline? Or is there something more profound happening beneath the surface? To answer that, let's think about what happens when any system, political, social, or even personal, reaches its breaking point. At first the signs are subtle, a missed deadline here, a broken promise there. But over time, the cracks widen, trust erodes, cynicism takes root, and eventually, the whole thing threatens to come apart. That's where we are right now. The Democratic Party, like so many institutions, is facing a crisis of confidence, not just from the outside, but from within. The old alliances are fraying, the old narratives are losing their power, and the people who once kept the machinery running are starting to ask hard questions about whether it's worth saving at all. It's a moment of danger, to be sure, but it's also a moment of possibility. because when the old ways no longer work, we're forced to imagine something new. I'll be honest. Watching all of this unfold, I felt a mix of emotions, frustration, anger, even a little bit of hope, because as messy as it is, as painful as it can be to see the cracks in the system, I also know that discomfort is often the first step toward real change. Think about your own life. How many times have you grown, learned, or transformed? Not in moments of comfort, but in moments of challenge. When the job fell through, when the relationship ended, when the plan unraveled. Those were the times when you had to dig deep to ask yourself what really matters, to find a new way forward. The same is true for our politics. The same is true for our country. When the old ways break down, we have a choice. We can cling to what's familiar, or we can step into the unknown and build something better. It's easy to feel alone in moments like this, to believe that your frustration, your anger, your sense of betrayal is yours alone. But the truth is, millions of people are feeling the same way. We're all watching the same headlines, feeling the same anxiety, wondering if anyone in power really hears us. And that's where the possibility for change begins. Because when enough people say, enough is enough, when enough people refuse to play along, when enough people demand something better, that's when the dam finally breaks. It's not just about Fetterman, or the Democrats, or even Washington. It's about all of us, waking up to the reality that the system only works if we demand that it works for everyone, not just the powerful few. History is full of moments like this. Moments when the old order gives way to something new. Think of the Civil Rights Movement, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the Arab Spring. In each case, the cracks in the system were visible long before the collapse. The signs were there, for anyone willing to see. But change didn't come from the top down. It came from ordinary people, people who refused to accept the status quo, who spoke out, who organized, who believed that a better world was possible. We're at another crossroads now. The details are different, but the stakes are just as high. The question is, what will we do with this moment? Will we retreat into cynicism, or will we rise to the challenge? There's a concept in biology called punctuated equilibrium. It's the idea that systems, whether they're ecosystems, organizations, or societies, don't change gradually. Instead, they go through long periods of stability, punctuated by sudden dramatic shifts. That's what we're seeing now. For years, the political system has limped along, papering over the cracks, avoiding the hard questions, but now the pressure is built to the point where something has to give. It's scary, yes, but it's also necessary, because real change, lasting change, only happens when the old ways are no longer sustainable, when the pain of staying the same finally outweighs the fear of something new. Let's bring it closer to home. Imagine a family dinner where everyone is pretending everything is fine. Even as tensions simmer beneath the surface, maybe someone finally speaks up, calls out the elephant in the room, names the problem everyone's been avoiding. At first it's uncomfortable. There's anger, maybe even tears, but over time, that moment of honesty can lead to healing, to understanding, to a new way of relating. That's what Fetterman did. He named the problem. He refused to play along, and in doing so, he opened the door to something new. Not just for his party, but for all of us. So what happens next? That's the question on everyone's mind. Will the Democrats implode? Will Washington finally wake up? Will the system change? Or will it just find new ways to paper over the cracks? The truth is, no one knows for sure. But here's what I do know. Change is possible. Growth is possible. Transformation is possible. But only if we're willing to face the truth, to have the hard conversations, to demand something better. It starts with each of us, with the choices we make, the voices we raise, the values we refuse to compromise. It starts with refusing to accept the unacceptable, with insisting that our leaders serve us, not the other way around. And it starts with hope, not the naive hope that everything will magically get better, but the stubborn, determined hope that comes from knowing that we have the power to shape our own future. So what can you do? How can you be part of the change, instead of just another frustrated bystander? First, stay informed, but don't get lost in the noise. Seek out sources that challenge your assumptions, that offer real insight, that go beyond the headlines. Second, speak up, whether it's in your community, your workplace, or your own family. Don't be afraid to name the problems you see. Change starts with honesty. Third, get involved, vote, volunteer, organize, support candidates and causes that reflect your values. Remember, the system only works if we participate. And finally, don't lose hope. The road ahead will be messy, unpredictable. And finally, don't lose. But history shows that when enough people demand change, change happens. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Every great movement, every moment of transformation, starts with a single voice, a voice that refuses to be silenced, that dares to speak the truth, that calls others to action. Fetterman's fury may have stunned Washington, it may have signaled a meltdown, but it also reminded us of something essential, that the power to change the world doesn't belong to the politicians, the pundits, or the parties. It belongs to us. So what happens next? That's up to all of us. Will we retreat into cynicism, or will we rise to the challenge? The choice is ours. And if enough of us choose hope, choose honesty, choose action, then maybe, just maybe, the next headline won't be about a meltdown, but about a breakthrough. If this resonated with you, share it. Start a conversation. Ask the hard questions. And remember, the future isn't written yet. Together we can write a new story, one where the cracks in the dam become the opening for something better. Thank you for being part of this journey. Stay curious, stay courageous, and never stop believing in the power of your own voice.